there. It helps if you unmute the microphone. Hey, good evening, everybody. You're tuned in to Wide Awake News on Monday, July 1st, 2013. It's 9 o'clock here on the East Coast, and it's been a wild ride the last 30 days or so, eh? A lot of people who listen to my broadcasts will expect an alternative energy message because that's a lot of what I do. But we've done some rearranging on the broadcasts, and at this point, my alternative energy message is going to be confined to my Thursday Justin TV broadcasts, and this 1 hour broadcast on Rinse, and Lord only knows how many other venues it's being played out, will basically be me barking at the moon as if somebody out there was actually listening. And there's a lot to cover tonight. It's been a while since I've done a live broadcast. I took the last 30 days off to handle a deluge of personal items that had kind of built up on me with all my other obligations. So the last 30 days for me has really been a wild one. But I have kind of been keeping up with the news, and there's been a lot going on that probably needs to be ranted about. What's your opinion on some of these items? I'm putting the banner up on the video here. We are live on Monday, July 1st, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. So if you happen to be so inclined and something I say really pisses you off, you can give us a call at 877-342-6673 and see if we have any alternative opinions out there. As I said, there's a lot going on, so let's get right on into it. I'm kind of an old geezer, and I remember 1986 like it was yesterday. 1986, I think that was the year my son was born, 1986. It's fresh in my memory. How fresh is it for you? In 1986, under President Reagan, we used to kind of kid around back in the 60s about Richard Nixon and his secret weapon, the Ronald Ray gun. But, in 86, he was the darling of conservatives. And he said, look, tell you what we're going to do. We're going to pass this here law. We're going to make 3 million illegal aliens legalized immigrants. And that's it. After that, we're going to shut down the borders and ain't going to be no more. That's it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And they passed that law. A lot of people kind of, I think Dwight D. Eisenhower had the right idea. After World War II, all the immigrants that had come in to help with the war effort basically got the boot. They got sent back home. It was called the wetback laws. And some now, with very convenient memories, would say that was a racist policy that Dwight D. Eisenhower imposed, and he's just picking on those poor Latinos. Others look at it and say, that's probably not a bad idea. Well, now we're being sold this same story again, this same story that we heard back in 1996. Well, we got about 30 million this time, but we're going to keep the numbers kind of conservative. We're going to say it's maybe 10, 12 million. Yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And we need to give these folks a path to citizenship. Why? What's in it for us? Now, we take on more than our fair share of legal immigrants, people who respect our laws. They come in with the right attitude. They apply for the right papers. They come in to do their thing, and they become legal citizens. We take on more than almost any country in the world. People who do not respect our laws and just jump the border are by the very nature of that act, criminals. And it puzzles me why our politicians, supposedly our politicians, would pander to them as if they were a voting bloc. Perhaps because in some states they are? Wait a minute. How does somebody who's here illegally vote? Think about that. Think about that. And while you're at it, think about reading the immigration law that's already passed the Senate and is under consideration by the Congress now. Think about it. Think about who you might call, who you might write a letter to. Is this what you thought America was supposed to be? You can get a link at smartscarecrow.com. Find the blog entry for July 1st, 2013, and you can get a link that'll take you right to a website that has the full text of this immigration law. Read it. Understand what is being passed. Too many of these egregious bills are being passed where not even the politicians read them. Well, be knowledgeable on this issue yourself. And as always, make up your own damn mind. Another issue in the news, this fella Hastings. There's a noted reporter. This guy's an investigative reporter. And, a lot of people, talk to me. They say, "Oh, you're a journalist." No. I'm not a journalist. I don't pretend to be a journalist. I'm a commentator. I look at what's going on in the news, and yeah, I've got an opinion. I tend to exercise my First Amendment right because, frankly, muscles that are not exercised tend to atrophy. And if you do not exercise your rights, you may lose them. So yes, as a commentator, I am exercising my First Amendment rights. But no, I'm not a journalist. This guy Hastings, he's a real honest-to-God journalist. I mean, he gets in, gets his hands dirty, and comes back with the dirt. Matter of fact, a General McChrystal, I think his name was, could probably attest to that because an article written by Mr. Hastings brought that man down. Now, this fellow Hastings apparently was into a few things, writing some articles that some might have found embarrassing. And then one night at, 4 o'clock in the morning, I guess it was early morning, he drives his Mercedes at a high rate of speed into a palm tree. And the engine of the Mercedes winds up about 60 yards down the road. We'll take up that topic and other items when we come back from this first break. Please stand by. Alrighty, and we are back from our first break of the evening. I was discussing this fella, Hastings. Michael Hastings is his name. Probably best known as a investigative journalist for Rolling Stone magazine. I remember Rolling Stone magazine when the only way you could buy it was to go by the head shop, and all they seemed to do was cover, the latest event, this concert event or something like that. But, Rolling Stone has evolved into quite the publication. Some great investigative reporting is coming out of Rolling Stone. Stuff that you will not get in the New York Times or the Washington Post. These boys have gotten serious about reporting on the news. Some don't want the truth to get out there. Some have a vested interest in keeping things tidy, keeping everybody marching to the same music. This guy Hastings had a reputation for upsetting apple carts. Now, if you were the apple peddler and this guy was regularly coming along upsetting your apple cart, you might have reason to do the man harm. Many are saying that Michael Hastings was eliminated by elements probably within our own federal government. Now, does that mean that everybody, the clerk over at, the Department of Commerce had something to do with Michael Hastings getting whacked? No. That means that there is a segment within government that probably believes they're really doing God's work. They're really doing what is necessary. They probably even have their own personal regrets about doing some of these horrible things. But they feel like they have a mission, and this mission is to make America a better place. Their form of better place. And in their form of better place, the idea of dissenting points of view really have no room. So dissenting points of view. Well, government is so paranoid, that they see fit to snoop on just about everything you do. They want to read your email. They want to listen to your phone calls. Now, to be honest with you, they don't have the manpower. The stories come out. Obama saying, all these guys are doing is storing metadata. Do you know what metadata is? That means everything. Meta, enormous. Absolutely. Might as well call it mega data. Okay? They are storing everything. 10 years from now, they could have a grudge on you, and they could go back to a phone call you had 10 years ago where you said something nasty about somebody's mama, and they could use that as evidence against you. They want to have stored every facet of your life so that if you ever become a what they like to refer to as person of interest, they can snoop through everything you've done since they started acquiring all this data and find as many pieces of incriminating evidence as they can possibly find. That's why they are acquiring it. Now, if you really think that the NSA has the manpower to have an analyst sitting there listening to me bark at the moon on Wide Awake News on Rents Radio, guess again. These guys got bigger problems, bigger fish to fry than me. But boy, if all of a sudden I become a person of interest, I guarantee you they got a recording of this show, and they'll play it back and they'll pick out, selective little pieces that make me sound like a raving lunatic, which some might agree with them on. That's neither here nor there. This thing with the NSA is not new. This has been going on for a long time. There was a thing called carnivore talked about back in the 90s. This has been written about. There's been a number of books published about it. This is old news. What's new is that there's a guy named Snowden out there who, has made it real hard for them just to, shove it underneath the carpet and say, it's just a bunch of conspiracy theories. You can't really believe all that stuff. It's just, it's just a bunch of conspiracy nuts out there thinking that we'd acquire all that data and store it forever and ever and ever. Amen. We wouldn't do that. We're the government. We're the good guys. We're the U.S. of A. We don't do that kind of stuff. Yeah, right. This guy Snowden has made it real clear to most anybody who's willing to consider his arguments that not only are they spying on the American public, they're spying on American politicians and probably using the dirt they find to keep those politicians in line and marching to their tune. So we got this fella. Let's see, how close are we to the break? We're coming up on a break, so I've got a quick video I'm gonna play when we come back from the break, where a fella provides a pretty good argument for Snowden coming back and fighting it out in court. He says, this needs to be brought to the Supreme Court. People need to hear these arguments, and it's one of those things where everybody's got an opinion, and we need to consider all of them. I don't know what to think about this fellow Snowden. Is he a modern day patriot, or is he a traitor? We'll be back after this break. We'll find out. Alrighty, we're back from our second break of the evening, and I do have a caller on the line, and I'm Tommy. Are you there, man?
Yes, I am.
Alrighty, I want you to hang in there. I want you to listen to this video. This video, I grabbed a clip off of CNN, and this is an NSA whistleblower by the name of William Binney making his arguments. Let's see what we think about this one here.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. I'm trying to make it live for the folks on Justin TV. And
the NSA rejected
there.
Could have prevented the 9/11 attacks. He also says that after 9/11, the NSA misused the technology to spy illegally on Americans. Binney took his concerns to Congress, but says he himself became the target of government retaliation. The FBI raided his home and held Binney at gunpoint with his wife and son nearby. And then years later, in 2010, the Justice Department issued Binney a letter of immunity. I'm joined now from Washington by Bill Binney and his lawyer, Kathleen McClellan, of the Government Accountability Project, a private group that supports whistleblowers. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
morning.
Good morning. So, Bill, I'd like to start with you because we're playing this cat and mouse game with Edward Snowden. I mean, some correspondents think he's actually sneaked out of Moscow's airport, but where would he go if he did that?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I mean, I think he should come back here and face the charges and go into court, because this issue really needs to be taken into the Supreme Court for resolution. I mean, this is fundamentally what they're doing in spying on all Americans and compiling all this information is a fundamental violation of our constitutional rights.
So you believe that Edward Snowden should come back even after what happened to you, because you went through the proper channels and the government retaliated against you?
Yes, but they never let me get into court. So, I mean, that was one of the things that I wanted to do, take this issue right into court. And if we couldn't talk about it in the court, which they'd try to silence you, I wanted to talk about it on the steps of the court, because this issue is fundamental to the freedoms of this country. I mean, even yesterday, I read a quote in the newspaper from a former lieutenant colonel in the East German Stasi. He said our surveillance program was only something they could have dreamed of. They couldn't even dream of when he was in the Stasi. I mean, that was my whole point all along, is that this is something that totalitarian states have done down through history. The KGB, the Stasi, the Gestapo, the SS, they've all tried to gather information to have power against the population.
Okay, so we've heard this guy Binney's argument. Tommy, what do you think? If you were Edward Snowden and you had just, released all this dirt, what do you think? Would you come back and try to face these guys in open court? What do you think?
Well, I personally think he should, and I'll tell you why. They will actually kill this individual. They have no problem killing witnesses. They have no problem. They've been doing it for many times. Around Hastings was a great example. Hastings' car does not explode unless someone puts a bomb in it. I believe they captured the guy hours early. He was running, and they got him. They set up the car. Think about what's the past? Before the car crashed, where was he? Question. No one's bringing that up. 2 o'clock in the morning, running at 100 miles an hour. Things just don't crash into a pole and explode. Cars don't do that unless you put something in it to cause it to explode. I think he needs to come back so he has the people again on his side. We are Americans. We should not allow these politicians to lie. See, they want to get rid of these people because they are evil. No, they call us traitors. Our government is traitor. They're selling us out, period.
Well, yeah, but the fact remains, this guy Snowden, and the folks on Justin TV are getting a cute graphic right now that I set up in about 30 seconds. Where I've got a picture of a drone zapping Snowden. Let's face it, this government is so out of control. They can get this guy no matter where he is. I mean, if they really want him bad enough, if they decide, he's worth the expense, they can get him anywhere he goes. So, why not on Main Street, USA? Why, they can get him in Reykjavik. They can get him in Ecuador. They can get him wherever he goes. They can get him. About the only safe place where he might be able to hide out is maybe Russia or China because, they've got the wherewithal to keep our drones out. But, frankly, I don't think this guy has a safe place to hide. I really don't. If they decide they want him, they're going to get him. What do you think of that?
Well, I think he's probably a dead man, no matter what. But I think if he aligns himself with the proper people and be able to see, it's like what they do. They do things behind the curtains. Our government. He's going to have to be smart about it. He's going to have to be able to contact people he can trust and get the information out. See, the thing is, he's not a traitor. He's just telling truths about what our government's doing. So what they do, they
and it was stuff we knew about anyway, wasn't it? I mean,
exactly.
Were you surprised? I mean, were any of the stuff that this guy came out with, was it really a revelation to you? Was it really any kind of a surprise?
No, and the sad point is they've been doing this for months. That they tell you can't video a cop when they pull you over because they have a lot to hide. See, they're scared of the truth, and all they want to do is wipe out those who know the truth. And I'm not saying he's perfect, but if I say a politician is crooked and I have proof, I guarantee you they'll want to whack me too.
And if the politician steps a little bit out of line, there's a very good chance they'll whack the politician. I mean, we've had,
exactly.
We've had numerous.
The sad thing about this, Gary.
Yeah,
the sad thing about this, Gary, is that we Americans are sold out. Our politicians are basically lawyers. They have a client, and their client is not the American people. It's big industry. The immigration, all this is about money and vote and control, and that's where it really sums up. They don't want the truth, but guess what? The truth will always prevail. Every time they cover it over, it just makes a big pile of goo because eventually people are going to see it and say, it's all crap.
I agree. Well, I'll tell you what. You had the patience to call in. Going to give you 30 seconds to say your piece. What's pissed you off recently? Is there one item out of all the pile of doo-doo that we have been confronted with over the last 30 days or so? Is there one item that's really got Tommy bugged?
And one thing that really irritates me, these politicians are calling him a traitor when, in fact, they are the two-faced. They're the traitors of the American people. Who is putting these clowns in? And you wonder why we got a circus. The problem is that we need to hold these people accountable for every wrongdoing. I always say, if you're going to vote someone in, say, well, look, if you can't be honest, automatically you forfeit your position and kick them the heck out and let them go on the unemployment line.
It'd be neat if we could figure out a way to kick them out. I mean, I've got about 3 that I get to vote on. One I get to vote on every 2 years, and a couple of them I get to vote on every 6 years. And I've been trying to throw these SOBs out for as long as I can think about it, but there just does not seem to be a way to vote them out. And there is no grand jury where you can take your case and have it heard. What options are left? I mean, how do you get these SOBs out of there?
Well, I think the only option I have, and I don't believe in violence, but I believe in God. Let God take care of them. They're all old anyhow. It's just a matter of time they have to meet their maker. They have a lot to learn when justice will, at the end, pay. And they're going to pay for their sins. And, I always tell people, don't have to do nothing. They're doing it to themselves. They're going to implode because they're greedy. The love of money is the root of all evil. It doesn't end just from one person. Just they eat themselves away. So sit back, enjoy the show, because eventually they're all going to pay at the end.
Well, Tommy Reed, you've said your piece. Is that it for you tonight?
That is it. Thank you.
All right, sir. You have a good evening, and thank you. All righty. He timed that perfectly because I think we're about ready to roll into another break here in less than a minute. So I'm not really going to start on another topic, but yeah, this Snowden issue, my take on it is I wish the guy well. I hope he finds a safe haven somewhere. But unfortunately, because this man told you the truth, he's going to be looking over the shoulder for the rest of his life. And we'll be back right after these important commercial announcements. Okay, I want to thank Tommy Reed for calling in and giving us his opinion on some of these issues. And for any of you out there who might likewise wish to call in and get something off of your chest, the number is 877-342-6673, and we will be more than pleased to let you bark at the moon as if somebody was really listening. Moving right along, this NSA thing has got everybody in a tailspin. And frankly, it's starting to annoy me a little bit because there's a lot of other issues that should be on the table. And, while everybody's hyperventilating over this NSA thing, there's a lot of other stuff going on that, it's just the pile of doo-doo is so deep that, folks just don't have a big enough shovel to handle it all. And that has become a problem. But, there is another wrinkle to this NSA thing. Now, how many of you out there, I got a graphic up there of this guy, a fellow by the name of W.A.N. Madsen. Anybody out there heard of W.A.N. Madsen? He did an interview apparently with the Guardian. This is one of the largest English language newspapers in Europe. It's published out of England, I believe. And Madsen, did not give any new revelations. He did not say anything that wasn't already out there in the public domain. This guy's pretty cagey. He used to work for the NSA. I mean, this guy's testified in front of Congress. I mean, this guy's no dummy. And he wasn't going to say anything that was going to put him in the slammer. But, he did review the bidding on a number of these NSA programs, and he kind of wagged his fingers at some of the governments in Europe about how they're so shocked that the NSA would be spying on even their allies. I mean, my goodness, why would the United States be spying on England and Germany and France? They're our buds. Why would we be spying on them? Oh, we're so shocked, while they have actually been complicit. It's kind of a you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. See, here in the United States, we could get in trouble if we spy on our own people. But, gee, if our buddies the Brits spied on our folks and we spied on theirs and we traded, the spying information. Then we got what's called plausible deniability. No, we didn't do it. We got that information from a third party. And this was the point, the major point, that this guy, Wayne Madsen, made. Well, you know, The Guardian published the article in their newspaper. They ran with it on their website, and it hung there for long enough for some people to take note. And all of a sudden it disappeared. It's as if history was rewritten with the wipe of a web page. This is the danger of depending on the web for your news. The web can and is routinely sanitized. If information gets out there that certain folks don't really think should be commonly available, that history is rewritten with a delete button. It ain't like books, you know. Germans had to go around and collect all the books and throw them into piles and light a fire. They, you know, that's the only way they could get rid of that information that they considered heresy. When it's on the web, and you depend on the web as your source of information, just understand that what research material you're able to glean from the web is questionable. It could, and often is, sanitized to suit those who wish to maintain their situation. Oh, let's see. So much news in so little time. I'll tell you. I'm going to have to talk to Charlie and see if we can get this thing back to 2 hours because, you know, of course, I've been gone for 30 days, you know, so the news hopper inbox has built up to darn near overflowing. I want to give a, you know, so much of this is bad news that, you know, I think it's good. We, you know, right now let's have a couple of, you know, every once in a while you need to kind of step back from all the bad news and have a little bit of a laugh. So let's, you know, I've got 2 pieces here that I'm hoping are going to give you a little bit of a giggle. All right. Now, everybody's familiar with the Central Intelligence Agency, right? Right? You know, if I say CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, you know pretty much who I'm talking about, right? Well, you know, in a secret internal memo, CIA Director John Brennan, you know, went on a campaign. It's called a Honor the Oath, you know, in the CIA memo detailing the agency's plan to crush leaks. And guess what? His memo was leaked. Yeah, that's how I'm reading it. A memo written by CIA Director John Brennan describes plan to reinforce our corporate culture of secrecy. And the memo got leaked. Now, okay, don't say there's no good news out there, all right? That should give everybody a little bit of a giggle. Now, here's another one. I saved 2 pieces of good news so that I could honestly say that I did indeed present some good news in tonight's program. Now, ever consider the lowly beet? Well, you know, Russians consider the beet. I mean, without beets, there'd be no vodka. Well, there was a program going on in Oregon where they test planted a whole lot of sugar beets that were GMO. Okay, that's a genetically modified version of the beet. Now, apparently this beet was specially genetically modified to be somewhat more resistant to fungi and other assorted nonsense than your typical average, everyday, normal type natural beet. And you know, they did a test planting in Oregon, I guess, to see how it was gonna grow. Well, it appears that about 1,000 sugar beet plants on one property were destroyed. 3 nights later, the destruction continued on another property where another 5,500 plants were ruined. It's reported it doesn't look like a vehicle was used. It looks like people entered the field and destroyed the plants by hand. Somebody has took a serious approach to GMOs. Now, I don't care what your position on GMO produce is. I really don't care, okay? I don't care if manufacturers decide to use GMO products. My position on GMO is, look, in a free market, let the buyer decide. The most important vote anybody has in the United States is not at the ballot box. It comes out of your wallet. It's usually green, and it has a picture of a dead white guy on it, okay? That is the most important vote you make. And chances are you make that vote every day. All I ask is that if you're going to put something into a product that I might consider buying, I have a right to know. Okay? I have a right to know. I need to make an informed decision when I'm making my vote. If you're going to put GMO in my Wheaties, if you're going to put GMO in my Hostess Ho-Hos, I just want to know. At that point, decision's on me. I'll vote with my dollar whether to support you or not. Enough on the GMO issue, but I hope that one does give you a giggle. And frankly, it gives me a little bit of hope that there are people out there who are ready to take action, because that is sorely needed at this point. Now, yeah, some will say that was a criminal act. Some would say that was a non-violent action. Not quite Gandhi-esque, but close. And as long as violence is the monopoly of the government, I don't think we got a chance. So, some very contained acts of civil disobedience, like destroying a crop of what some would consider poison, might not be a bad thing. This might be something that we'll need to see more of. Now, if you consider the activities that are going on in Brazil, where there are quite literally millions of people in the streets right now over what we would consider a fairly modest increase in the cost of public transportation. If you consider the number of people that are in the streets right now in many of the nations of Southern Europe, it kind of makes you wonder, what's it going to take to get Americans off the couch and into the streets? Is it going to take another Kent State incident? I mean, what galvanizing event would cause you to consider taking action? No longer just talking about it, no longer making it an academic exercise, but actually committing to take action. What's it going to take for you? And on that note, thank you very much for listening to me bark at the moon as if somebody was really listening. You all have a good evening, and you betcha we'll catch you next Monday. Good night, all.
Bulletproof vests away, it's ironic. At times like this you pray, but a bomb blew the mosque up yesterday. There's bombs on the buses, bikes, roads, inside your market, your shops, your clothes. My dad, he's got a lot of fear, I know, but enough pride inside not to let that show. My brother had a book he would hold with pride, a little red cover with a broken spine on the back. He hand wrote a quote inside: when the rich